Yep.
Greetings, brothers and sisters.
Good afternoon.
So we begin. Today, we wanted to control the topic.
Wonderful.
We wanted to answer a question for you. But first, we want to bring it into understanding and clarity. Clarity is very important upon this issue. One of the things that we wanted to clarify before we begin is you had brought up the statement that is it possible for our sun to go all the way out of the way, full trance channeling? He misunderstood and thought you meant into the space of connectedness where the ego is shattered, and at that point the clarity dawns. He'd misunderstood, which is why the clarification. However, we wanted to point out to you that we are honored that you would trust us in such a way that you wanted him out of the way to seek our counsel on the question without him being present, that you trusted us enough to bring the issue and the matter before us. However, when it comes to this issue, it would behoove us to remind you not to trust us. And we will again point back where the trust must come from. Follow the finger. If you do not trust yourself, it will not happen. No matter what we say, it is always with that in mind. It is to bring you back to you. We have no light greater than the light within yourself. And so while we value your trust and opinion of us, we are going to remind you the point of this conversation is to mirror that back within. Does that make sense?
Very much so.
Okay. So in this regard, you must be your own counsel, taking care of the spiritual legalities and getting that out of the way. If you wish to engage us on our counsel on that issue, we will respond. Are you willing to hear what we have to share?
Yes. And a point of clarification, what I wanted to ask about I have an answer conclusion. And when I discuss this with other humans, there's always a bias and filter, and I immediately want to dismiss it. And I wanted to talk about this with you and clarify that I'm not fighting you. Maybe debating, but not so much debating. It's with regards to this question, I don't want to just believe one way or another out of convenience, out of fear, out of approval, out of conformity. I want to know it absolutely. And part of my conclusions... Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. No. Bye. Part of my conclusions definitely come out of, I don't know the right word, but a sense of insecurity in my own history. So the reason I want to discuss with you directly is to, even if I don't we don't come to a conclusion or an answer, explore the topic to clear out garbage, my garbage, societal garbage, and get closer to a truth. So in this regards, I'm not just going to accept what is said willy-nilly. I want to explore the topic unapologetically in a back and forth so that I can come to it without tarnishing it with ideas, history, language, garbage, etc. If that makes sense.
Perfectly. And it is your right to do so, and we encourage it. We encourage it. Remember, this is a conversation, no more. Though we take the title of spirit, that and a cell phone gets you a phone call.
Yep.
It is always going to come back to your truth. Our purpose is with our ability to perceive and the level on which we do, the clarity in which we know ourselves, is to mirror that back to you, to be a light to help you see the patient you are working upon, to point out pitfalls that you may stumble upon. Give words to things that you know intrinsically but don't know how to express it. Don't know why it works, how it works, when it works. It's to give you the insight to grow, to be who you are, to know the truth. But all of it, all of the work, all of the credit, all of the shifting and the realization and the standing in your light is by your efforts alone, not ours. We are here to converse and assist. If you are willing, what are you willing to have happen here? And the point that we want to make to you is that, again, this is a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Take advantage of it.
Yes.
Why wait on the question? And part of that is because you're in the stage of holding it so close to find your own truth before allowing it to be influenced. We understand. The other aspect is, what do we say about this? There is still that putting us on a pedestal, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Tick-tock. Take advantage of the conversation.
Yeah.
What are you afraid of? What could we possibly say in conversation? And it is always that way. Do not use what we say as a means of guilting or beating oneself.
Mm-hmm.
We have said this before, and this is a prime example. No one likes someone coming along and twisting their reality.
Yep.
You have to be willing. Otherwise, this enlightenment thing would be so easy.
Yeah.
And it is growing to the point of being willing until we could speak. So, a disclaimer. Today's lesson will be going into modalities of healing, mental constructs, what you have been taught, what you know to be true, and what are the possibilities. What we say on this particular subject is not meant to be used as a broad spectrum to grab it as a paintbrush and paint a certain classification and say, well, Spirit said. Spirit did not say. Spirit is speaking to an individual that is before us, seeking the possibilities, ready for it, has done groundbreaking work since we first brought up the subject over 2 years ago, to get ready to come to this point and sit before us and ask it again and obtain more information on it, when the first little tidbit we gave him took him over 2 years to process, to come back and ask for more. That does not qualify as any classification within the world, and we are not trying to make it match that. We are matching the individual before us. And so on this subject, it must be taken on an individual layer, an individual level, the one that sits before you. And that is a modality of healing and understanding that topic, of which our conversations will start turning deeper and deeper into those levels of seeing reality from a different level. One that we may say actually works, but you don't know that yet. But you are willing, finally, to hear about it. And that makes all the difference in the world. So again, we repeat ourselves. We are not taking a paintbrush and giving an answer for the world over a particular category. We are dealing with the individual before us. Capiche?
Capiche.
Okay. Do you want to ask the question, or should we just start talking about it?
Let's just start talking. Let's just start talking about what you were bringing up with healing and everything. I think the question's going to naturally arise or resolve itself, where I come back with a come back with it in a different manner.
Okay, fair enough. So in a previous lesson, we brought up, and permission, of course, first. It is okay to talk about this openly?
About anything.
Okay.
That's fine.
So, in a previous lesson, within the first set of lessons, we had brought up the fact of mental illness. And we had said to you the subject that you do not need the medicine, that a mind is capable of healing. And you never stopped us to inquire again and say, what were you talking about? How does that work? Why would you see it that way? It was a broad statement, and it was never inquired about again. Not in meeting. You inquired many times outside of meeting, but you never brought it back in for conversation. Why?
I think twofold. I've heard it many times in spiritual circles, and then the fact that spirit brought it up must be true in my mind at the time. And secondly, I wanted it to be true and not question it, because I didn't want to take the medicine. And if spirit said it, fine, perfect, there it is.
We appreciate your honesty. Many times we will make a statement, and the purpose of the statement, such as that, is a click and bait. It's to see if you click it. to see if you're ready, to give the opportunity. But in reality, it is like taking someone that has never seen a car before and saying it can go faster than a horse and is much more efficient, will last longer. But they've never seen a car before. They don't understand the mechanics. It would feel foreign even how to get the door open. And while you can say the statement from that perspective of it being true, for someone that does not have the experience of such a matter, to take it as true with no actual experience, no inquiry, no challenge, shows a particular mindset, one that is not ready to learn about a car. Do you see it?
I think I do, yeah. It's
And in the end, it becomes an irritant, waiting to become a pearl. And so the purpose of such statements is not to be said without question. The purpose of it is to invite a conversation, to show a willingness to learn a subject, a willingness to explore. And over 2 years later, here we are. You're asking about the car that we mentioned.
So that thing that you talked about, the car, let's discuss it.
Exactly. Because it is time. And this goes into healing modality. And this goes into understanding what you are dealing with. And the first thing we will say to you, brother, is to rethink how you are approaching it, to gain a larger point of view. You are very black and white. It is or it isn't. And that's not what we said. We said it was possible to heal. We didn't say it is or it isn't. The more you discover life, the more you discover that it's a polarity that is connected. And depending upon the observation and which way it travels, makes one reality and the other not. And it is when the mind discovers that it is actually one polarity connected, that it gets properly integrated in a way to become a blessing, to manifest within this world a particular truth. Hence the purpose of it to begin with. And so it is not a black or a white. Let us put it to you this way. You break a leg. Now, you have a crutch. And we come along and say, the crutch is not necessary. You can walk. Is the statement false? No. The leg will heal, and you will not need the crutch. Now, is it appropriate for the mindset at that point in time, while the leg is still mending, to say, Spirit said the crutch is not necessary, and throw it away? Would that be wise?
No.
But that's what you did.
Yep.
That is what you did. And we want to point out the polarity issue. It is or it isn't. When the fact of it is, your experience shows you that sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. Yes?
Yeah.
So if in fact the leg is still mending, is that time to throw away the crutch? There are stages. First, you go see a doctor who sets it. Then you get a cast. Then you get everyone to sign it. And then you learn how to manage to walk around using the crutch. Then you get the cast off. Then you stop using the crutch. And then depending upon that, you see a physical therapist to teach you how to walk straight again, to trust the leg, because it's been broke for more than 30 days. Do you see it?
Yeah.
And then you walk out of physical therapy and the broken leg is no more. All of the effects have been mitigated, dealt with in stages. And there are times that you may be able to walk across the room and not need the crutch to go get the TV remote. Not so much when you're going to the mall. Do you see it?
Yeah.
And so, you have been approaching it with a black and white perspective. Now let us make it specific to what you are dealing with, which is that you get ramped up. Your energy goes on high, and you run to catch up with it. You get busy, and all of this information is coming at you. And the information may be sexual, or it may be self-critique. Are we off?
Nope.
And so the two polarities speed you up. And it gets to the point that you feel, I can't keep up and I'm on overwhelm. But it's already gained a momentum and is dragging you along, and you don't know how to stop it. And so you come captivated in this fast pace, burning as you go. Burning.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to the point that you do anything to stop the speed, to stop the process, to stop the overwhelm. And so, if in doubt, pull the self-destructive methods, because you know it will create a stop. Sure, you have to rebuild, but it creates a stop. What does this describe?
This is that manic ramp up and then the crash.
And was the information not given to you relating this to your astrological chart?
Yes. Yeah.
And within that, the key to stabilizing it?
Yeah.
Service.
Yep.
Service. Service. Get out of self and think of others.
And that's what we talked about last week, too. I mean, you had brought it up.
What a coincidence.
What a coinky dink. And,
we are sure there's no connection whatsoever.
no. And it's like, I've been talking about, it's interesting that I've been talking about just with other people and even David, how service really is a way to get out of my own way. But what is that? What is that about service?
Because it breaks the cycle and redirects the energy in a healing modality.
And this is what I've been inquiring about, like this ramp up of energy. It's the same.
Go on.
It's the same. It's the same energy that can be used for healing work.
Correct.
It's that sexual energy isn't just to get off an orgasm and boom, we're done. That's like a very um, biological aspect of it. Very, very, very biological aspect of it. But I have experience just from it building other things of how do I say it? Of it peaks to a point in I can pull things whatever. One can pull things off that one never thought was possible, as far as breaking certain perceptions or shifting certain perceptions, cleaning the lens, inspiring another through just words or actions that don't feel like one's own. There's a tie between the two, and when that's expressed, it's like that sexual kundalini energy just kind of
Correct.
ah.
And what did we say in the beginning of this meeting? Polarities, connected. Depending upon the perception, one is true, and then another time the other is true.
Yep.
Creating a this and a that, but there is no this or that. It's one expression. Learn both. Some of the greatest blocks that people have to learning compassion and connected, being able to feel the energy right now that moves through what is that before they can get that, they need to not be repressed sexually with themselves. Because they are sexually repressed, it makes it impossible for them to go to the other side. And so what does it become? It becomes an intellectual formula with no compassion. And how well has your world done with such concepts?
Exactly, my man.
And so when they say the key is the sexual repression, there is a truth there.
What better way? I know I heard from Eric Fromm. Was it Eric Fromm who said it? What better way to control one's will than to shame something as basic and biological as sex?
And there's a truth there.
The human will. Yeah, and it's like, and I know for me, for Mansoor, that sexual ramp up and drive, astrology aside, I never really came out till I was 27 years old. And I've always had a very high sex drive. And so, I'm not going to sit here and blame all that and blah, 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 blah. But I see the connection there of just like how many decades of repression. And even after I came out, a lot of repression. Not really until I feel like the last few years have I been comfortably to finally fully sexually express myself. And now I'm at this pivot point where that sexual energy I know needs to evolve. It needs to evolve, and I think I know where I'm going with it, but that's the reason why I wanted to ask the question without David around, straight to you, because my big question is my blocking point for where I want to take the sexual energy. And it's a huge fucking blocking point for where I want to take the sexual energy. But I know that sexual energy is at a pivot point of evolution.
Let us pause there for a moment. We will come right back to it.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to finish our original point to you, because that is going to bring us onto a different topic, which will make it more difficult to come back to make the resounding point we've been trying to make with you.
Yeah, I want to keep that going.
So we said that you are viewing this as black and white. And now looking at it from a larger perspective, are you necessarily done with the crutch? Has the cast come off all the way? Have you seen someone to learn to re-walk with that leg yet? Then perhaps it would be good, instead of looking at the medicine as wrong or right, but as the crutch that it is intended, so that if you do ramp up, you can, because you're busy going to the mall, you have the crutch available to use to mellow
that down.
And then go back to what you were doing. And yes, there will be the up and down of the modulation of energy, but at least you'll have it, because there is a certain point, and this is important. There is a certain point of the mania that you ramp up and don't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we say this over and over again, not to take it to make it a catchphrase or to beat you with it until you get it right. We say it because there is a great realization, power of oneself and mind and understanding it that can dawn from it. What is the point of thoughts and emotions? What is their purpose?
It's to give physical construct.
Now, in that time period of the ramp up, they speed up. And if you look back at your previous experience, they are there shifting and changing, doing their job to make the abnormal normal, yes?
Mm-hmm.
There comes a point in time that you don't know the difference between, because they're saying it's normal, but things are going too fast and you're on overwhelm to clearly see the facts, to say, no, it's not normal for me to be outside in my underwear, talking to the neighbor that doesn't exist. Everyone else around me says they don't exist, but I see them existing, so therefore, and they fill in the blank. And it's just going too fast. Nothing makes sense. And when you reach that stage, you lose control.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we gave an extreme example, but you know it's much more subtle than that.
Mm-hmm.
Much more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the point that we bring this to is to once again make the point, understanding the structure of the mind and the way it's been handed to you in this life. If the thoughts and emotions can't be trusted, because again, their point is not the truth. Their point and purpose is physical construct. What is looking at them and observing them to wean the truth from them? Otherwise, it would be background noise. But it's not background noise. Something is constantly watching them to find the truth.
It's it's Mansour's attention on it.
Correct. And what we speak of is the intellectual mind. 99.9% of your troubles in life is the intellectual mind observing the thoughts and emotions and trying to find the truth. Call us a liar.
Nope.
99.9% of your troubles. Now, if we say this powerful statement of the intellectual mind, what did we really just say?
The the only purpose for the intellect is to balance the checkbook.
Thank you for showing you listen.
I do.
Now, put it in a perspective for people that are not familiar with that phrase and what that means. It means the intellectual mind does not hold the truth. Because what the intellectual mind uses to gauge the truth is what others have taught, what it has seen, what it has read, what it has witnessed others do. And it is constantly shifting and reevaluating its morals, its statement of purpose, its philosophy of life, its friendships, its loyalties, its definition of family, its definition and labeling love, dislike, and hate. All of it is constantly shifting. Who you are today is not who you'll be tomorrow. And you say, this is change. That is not change.
Mm-mm.
That is an unbalanced equation. The intellect, trained properly, can get to a great truth, but it cannot experience it. It cannot experience it. It can theorize about it. But what you're after, what satisfies all of you, is the experience of the truth, not the deducing of a truth. That is like saying you have deduced by following the trails of food wrappers and watching the patterns of people and where they go, that just over the horizon is a magnificent restaurant with the most amazing food that would make you feel fulfilled to the core. And that's enough.
All right.
Of course it's not enough. You want to go in the restaurant and experience it. But the intellect is only able to deduce that it's just over the horizon. When in truth, it actually isn't. That's where the bus stops. That lets the people off that's been to the restaurant. Do you see it?
Yep. Yep. So, but I'll let you continue before I ask.
Now, why we say this is because the beginning courses were the preliminaries to grasp the subject, to get you to be willing to see the next one. And the next one is understanding the different modes of the mind. If you can understand and grasp the purpose of thoughts and emotions, and through observational work have seen that they are shady at best, completely shady and self-serving. They do not tell you the truth. They reflect the physicality of what you want to see, based on an intellect constantly shifting and changing. It holds nothing true because it doesn't know what truth is. But all of you have had experiences of epiphanies where you know that you know, and everything changes. What is that? In that moment, you are completely satisfied and fulfilled. No fear, no worry, no doubt, no shame, no guilt, no side effects of the thought and emotion game. You knew, and you, from that knowing, you experienced it. And the thoughts and emotions rearranged. What you thought you were capable of, what you thought someone else was capable of, what you thought you were angry at and no longer are. So many subjects to speak on, but it instantly rearranges the thoughts and emotions. So it comes to beg the question for the thoughts and emotions. We have said continually throughout the lessons that you do not understand their purpose. You do not understand how to masterfully paint with the paints that you've been given. So our question to you is, who is the true master of the thoughts and emotions? If they surrender and realign with one epiphany, then who is the real master here? And the idea of the epiphany and the thoughts and emotions rearranging, all of that is a different state of mind. It's not another dimension. It's not the fifth dimension, the sixth dimension, the seventh dimension, the eighth dimension. It is here, now. It is present now. It does not require an indigo light, a blue light, a yellow light, a purple light. It is here now. And the only thing that switches is where you place your attention. Accidental at first. But the doorway to enlightenment has been open to everyone here several times during their lifetimes. And then they plug back into the intellect. Let us analyze what just happened. How do I make sense of it? And we say analyze because when you do, your buttholes pucker.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're back into fear. That experience doesn't make any sense because it's not based on any of my data tapes that I've collected. So let's make it abnormal. And we'll file it into the unknown file. A great experience. But we have to worry about the bills. Can we get back to that, please? Mm-hmm. We're going into that party tonight Did I buy the right dessert, and does my dress make me look fat? These are more important things to be concerned about, because they're physical. They have consequences. And within that statement alone, you suffer. You become cut off again.
It's like knowing, there it is. It's like the what's natural, what's right, if that's the right word, funny, or
What is your true mind?
feels easy, flowing, and then, but I'm gonna shackle myself here because this is what I'm familiar with.
Correct.
And what does that say about the true state of the mind?
And we're going to reuse examples that we've given previously because it's time for their opening to understand them truly. And when you shackle yourself, because this is real, because you know this, isn't that the jail cell we've been telling you you're stuck in, afraid to go out of it? And who's creating the bars?
This guy.
Correct.
Mansoor.
Out of ignorance of one's own mind. Life does not trap you. Life can't trap you. You are glorious spirit within body. Life cannot trap you. You trap yourself. The only difference between us, brother, is our perception of purpose and self. Reactions.
Nothing. It's, I mean, I'm tired of my 12 step. I'm tired of therapy. I'm tired of books. I'm tired of people.
Why?
I mean, you said it really well. It's all just mental. It's all just intellect. You know, I'm going to take a bathroom. After our break, if we take a break, I want to talk about using the intellect. But it's just like, I want to isolate myself, and 12 step and in other things people say that's, and even I think my husband also worries, but it's like, I want to isolate myself because others are boring. It's talking about, or the latest show, or freaking out that I don't have a television, or the same garbage, different day. and it's just boring. It's not living, it's surviving. And but after I pay off the debts, after the next gig, after I get the certification, and it's nothing new. I mean, we've talked about it, but it's like really just, I'm sitting here and I bring up like how gorgeous the fall is, and all people do is complain about how cold it is, and oh, it's not that pretty. It's, not this year. And then like, oh, the days are too short. And it's like, but summer's going to be around the corner and we're going to have plenty of long days in heat. Like, I don't know. I don't know. That's my reaction. I don't know. None of this works. It's the same garbage, different day. And it's literally just keeping oneself occupied until something happens. And this is going into the question I want to ask, but I will not ask it. But it's always looking for one day someone or something else will take care of it. But for now, let me just exist and distract myself and keep myself busy. I'm in a waiting room and there's a pile of outdated magazines with old news, but at least it entertains me. And his life is one giant waiting room, or we're conditioned to just accept it as one giant waiting room with outdated magazines and curated distractions.
Okay.
And I don't know. That's my reaction.
You do know.
There's just so much. There's
We would say, perhaps take a page out of our book. Based on your current perception, would we not find you boring?
No, because not only am I nice to look at, but I'm actually like, you're watching me like, it's like, I don't know, like watching Armando shed his skin, like, wow, he's bigger, or...
And is that how it started?
Mm-mm.
No. It wasn't so beautiful then, was it? So shouldn't we have naturally seen you as boring, as a waste of time, uninteresting, nothing to add to the self? What have we said continually is the only difference between us?
Is our perception, the perception of myself and my purpose.
And we said our purpose.
Our purpose.
As in
my
collective.
Oh, there's the other thing. It's just this separation of I, Mansoor, self, me, my clothes, my body.
Hold. Now, each of us have our own angle of that purpose. When Woman of the Forest comes through and channels through the body, her angle is quite different than ours, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
There's a sharpness of humor, irony in her voice, and quick to point out, oh, no. In that feminine, motherly way. And read your beads, so to speak. Yes?
Yeah.
But what is her purpose? How she expresses that, the beauty in the way she does, is not like us. We relate better to you than she does. Do you know why?
Why?
Because we come from an intellectual standpoint. She relates to our son and jives with his emotional perspective. Our son, we're not going to say mastered, but has come to a very good understanding of the emotional world, does he not?
Mm-hmm.
He delves in it and sees things with it and understands, because that is the nature of his perception in his chart. What is yours, Miss Virgo? Intellectually.
That's what draws me.
Of course.
I mean, you look at but the tastes that pull Mansoor, it's not very spiritual that you'd find in the spiritual self-help section. I have Science and Sanity. I have books on words. I have, I'm studying like the mechanics of, when it comes to astrology, I look at like the mechanistic stuff. I like the math of it. Like that resonates with me. It's like, but when it comes to the, nothing against Eckhart Tolle or, they've given me things. I respect these other ones that are mainstream, but it's like, I always feel like I'm shortchanged.
And you are, because the point you miss from what they're expressing is that way.
Mm-hmm.
Each and every one of them, that way. Not this way. That way. If it's not done by you, it will not be done. We are here to witness your angle of truth being born. And when it does, we know God in a more complete way. Because we know you. Have we not said this before? We are here to witness God give birth to itself and see the truth of itself as our brother or sister, depending on how you express. It is fluid. Yes, like a spiritual drag queen.
I love it.
You express both. But before us is the male aspect. And so we address the male, because that is what you have chosen for this moment. But, again, back to point. We come from an intellectual standpoint, do we not?
Mm-hmm.
Others have spotted this.
What do you mean others have spotted this?
They've described us as a monk-like presence, sitting and teaching the Dharma.
Who?
You've described us as Jewish.
Yeah.
Intellect, intellect, intellect. So what have we discovered about our intellect that you have not?
That's what I want to ask next is, I would like to take a break. My body needs it, but...
Then we will say this and we will take a break. What we have discovered, like our thoughts and emotions, the intellect has its place in the scheme of things. Just because people, places, and things have filled its data banks with half-truths, quarter-truths, and lies, or a moment of truth that is in conflict with the rest of the data, does not mean that it needs to not exist. It, like the thoughts and emotions, need to understand who its true master is. What is the point of surrendering if you think it must be obliterated?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And we pause.
Thank you.
Remember, not the square button.
Yep. Oh. Yep.
You should see if seeing a red button.
It's a red circle.
so we continue. Before you ask your question, we want to tie together the loose ends and talk about this in a healing modality. This is much better. So, we talked about the aspect of the different parts of the mind and that understanding they are not the master. This is a realization, one that you must come to, a truth that you must see, and it is only by suffering under its tyranny that you will get it. You will get it. But that inspiration of getting it will be the inspiration you need to take the plug from here to there on extended periods. It doesn't mean that something will not create a fear reaction that makes you do this. Oh, I need to deal with that. And so you plug it back down. Did you need to deal with it? Or did you need to see the truth? What drew your attention off of the true self and the process of unfolding? And you will deal with that. But the first thing is understanding the movement of plugging it into the knowing as the true mind, the true state of being, and that the others are tools, not masters, and learning to take your attention off of them and seeing the truth of them as such. No one can tell you this. No one can train you this. If it does not come from within, it will not happen. No book can give this to you. No initiation can give this to you. No guru, regardless of where they sit, whether it's on the top of the mountain or in the bottom of the valley or somewhere hidden in a cave, can give you this. Only you can give you this. And the question is, what are you willing to have happen here? Is the question. And so, it is entirely up to you. And what we talked about is polarities, not this and that. They are connected. And we bring this back to your chart because it is timely of understanding the snapshot that it is. The chart, being your astrology chart, so people can follow, is nothing more than a math equation, an energetic math equation. And the question becomes, how does it balance? You have your intellect, your emotions, your thoughts. The Holy Trinity. You have your sun, you have your moon, you have your ascendant. The Holy Trinity. Coincidence? We think not. Within each of those aspects is what it conflicts, what it's connected to, what makes it a whole. Coincidence? We think not. It's a matter of balancing those perceptions to harmonizing it, to opening the doorway, to receive, to be receptive. And as our son would call them, the Gemini twins, that is the purpose of what they've been teaching him. The key to the chart, reading the vibrational equation in play, of giving it physical construct to be balanced with opposing forces, connecting influences, not as a separation, but as a whole. And astrologers, without that understanding of the foundation, give a perspective and an insight of one aspect without being mindful of the whole that's being balanced and the purpose of balancing it in the first place. Because again, where are we? We are outside with you in the driveway. What are we discussing? Not the road and where it goes, but that it actually exists. The basics. That's where we are. The basics. And your world reflects it. Try not to kill each other. Try not to sleep with each other's wives. Try. And so few, despite your self-exclamation of your spiritual advancement and awakening, is ready to look at that road or consider it real, to get out of the driveway. And so the healing modality is understanding concerning what you are dealing with what you've been learned as the mental issue. There is a reason why the twins gave the instruction that they did in your interpretation of the chart, to show you the aspects, the energy that is going awry, that is creating the speed up. Why the speed up? How the speed up? What the focus of the speed up is. And what happens when it becomes a self-feeding fire, that it goes fast enough to catch flames. The aspect that you say of wanting to know the truth, having to know and getting to the intensity because it burns away and brings you to a new state of mind, that's your Scorpio nature. But it's also your Scorpio nature, the love of the beautiful male body and what can be done with it, what roles could be played, what truths can be discovered. Left unchecked becomes a sexual obsession that burns all. That goes too fast for the perceptive mind to keep up with. And your particular favorite is the obsessive sexuality followed by the observation and the judgment of it, or the judgment of something else, and then a distraction of the sexual obsession to lessen the critiques. And we are in the heart of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
The self-feeding fire that clouds the perceptions of the thoughts and emotions to know when you're in the street in your underwear talking to the neighbor that doesn't exist. And the only option that the psyche has left is to crash and burn, to get back down to earth and be grounded. And to hell with the consequences. Do you see it?
Yeah. Yep. To hell with the consequences.
Are we putting words on it that do not fit?
Nope. Because it's It's not necessarily just the words, but it's matching the experience or the energy.
1, do not throw away the crutch. There are times that you do not need the crutch because you're walking across the room for a simple glass of water. 2, there are times that you need the crutch because you have a longer journey, and there's nothing wrong with leaning on it during that time period. It is not a pass or fail. It is a gradual growth. A gradual growth. And what's the growth? What is growing? This is important. Your understanding of balancing those energies. Exploring them, certainly, but also converting them to tools, the tools that they're meant to be in a mind that shines in its own light. And in that, the twins already gave you the answer. The question is, does their math add up? And that is experimentation and experience of learning the other side of the polarity. That which is supposed to be in conflict, and how to make them harmonize. And why are they in conflict? They are connected. As the astrologer you are, you have to see that truth. So if they're in conflict, opposing, but yet connected, what does that say? It's a point of perception.
Where's the fulcrum in it?
And we go back to the seesaw example that we gave. One side goes up, the other side goes down, which makes you have to raise the other side to try to attain some balance. Oops, it went too far, the other side is now down. And spend your time running back and forth, traveling the expanse of the seesaw, trying to get it balanced, but never making it occur. Never realizing, stand in the fulcrum and everything balances, because the weight is evenly distributed. It is the fulcrum that is the observer's place. Because once balanced and working in harmony, the door opens. The door opens. And those are just words. Now you must prove them true. Not to us, not
To
for
myself.
us. If it does not happen from you, it will not occur.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the healing modality in which we want to come and share. Is that your limitations and the way that you've been taught them in this world, you don't have the time to be held bound by them anymore. And in this, it is not unique. You have the opportunity to gain the crutch, the medicine, and learn to balance so that it is not required. Our son faces the same journey. He has HIV, a bit more complicated, a bit more deadly, a bit more, you will never overcome that. But everything is a balance. Chinese medicine. When you have the yin, you balance with the yang, and it nullifies. And why is this of such importance? Why should this not be paramount at this point in time in your history? Because what happens when the medicine is no longer available? What happens when you can no longer afford it? What happens when the chain of supply and demand become disrupted? Is that when you deal with it?
Mm-hmm.
Some will, because they literally have to be facing the cliff before they decide other. But there is an opportunity now, and in so doing, training yourself as a healer on what is possible with others by healing oneself. And it is not until you do that you will believe in healing others. Understand the purpose of the tool laid before you. What seems like a curse is actually a gift. What seems like a hindrance is actually a doorway to be of service. Do you see it?
I thought I saw it, but that you bring it up now, I wonder, do I actually see it?
Indeed.
Because as I talk to other people with similar or just mental illness in general, and I just talk to them, and it seems like them having that space to discuss it without me trying to fix it gives them space to, it's like giving them relief. I don't know. I thought I saw it.
Well, let us put it this way. We have two jail cells side by side. And one jailed turns to the other jailed. The prisoner trapped.
Oh, my man. I see what you're talking. I'll let you finish it. It just hit me. Okay.
And one turns to the other and talks about the freedom from the cell while in the cell.
Yeah.
What do you call that? Two prisoners complaining.
Yep.
But what do you say to the other one that is on the outside of the jail cell, telling the other that it's possible for them to become free?
How do you do it?
And therein is a gift. And will that apply to every situation? The intellect says, of course. And the answer is no. No, it does not. You will know who to help. Not every path of karma leads to Disneyland. It's not meant to. It's not meant to.
And here's the purpose of service. Yeah, it's really when I can be of service, when Mansoor can step out of the way and just be of service.
And that is where we say, and come back to the point we were making. We, you and I, come from the place of intellect. How do we not find you boring, annoying, distracting? Because we understand our purpose. Do you understand yours, brother?
No, I don't think I was ever delusional in thinking I did.
And this is where it comes into, we are an example for you in conversation for a reason. What are we doing that you are not? How do we choose to spend our energy? In what way do we use it? These are great questions. If you want to learn how to sing, what is that singer doing that you are not? What are they practicing?
So can I ask that question, or do we have more preliminary stuff?
You can ask whatever question you want, because based on the question, you choose the course.
Well, so then how does one use the intellect?
They don't. The knowing does. Because when you talk about purpose, it is something that you know, not something that you intellectualize. And just like the thoughts and emotions, when they get rearranged and the knowing is in charge, I surrender. All three. I surrender.
But when you say you come from a place of intellect, what do you mean by that?
It means that it is a tool for our knowing.
So how do I use it as a tool? How does one use it as a tool for knowing?
By surrendering it to the purpose, to service, by understanding the light you are and giving it away, demonstrating it.
So intellect can't be used then to understand one's purpose.
No.
No.
As we gave in the example.
It's a skill, a tool, but
It is
but
not the master.
It's not the master. It's not a tool. It's a tool here, used here.
Correct.
In this life. But it's not the path to the knowing.
Correct.
The path to knowing then is beyond thought, emotion, intellect.
Correct.
It is an experience.
Correct.
And then here's the thing. So we have these tools, and we have this physicality. Those tools are used to create experiences, to tap into the knowing.
Those tools were there for the knowing to express itself through physicality.
So, how do I word this? Oh fuck!
Let it
remembering the knowing, or getting in touch with the knowing, or that. I get stuck in that loop because I'm identifying with the tools. And I'm identifying with the tools as like my mode of functioning, but that's not the way it is. How does Mansoor function without the tools? Is this where...
As long as you have a physical life, you require the tools for physical function.
So how does Mansoor get in touch with the knowing and understand Mansoor's purpose? Is it simply through service, and what is meant by service? Do you see where I'm going with this?
I do.
Because Mansoor has identified himself so much with language, intellect, the thoughts and emotions, body, like all these things.
Mm-hmm. Which leads to more of the same, which
Yes.
never comes to conclusion.
Never comes to a conclusion.
Let us give the ultimate answer, then we'll back up. You had the experience in a supermarket, and if you notice, we keep using old examples, as we said we would, and bring them present, because you're ready to see them in a new way. So you had that experience in the supermarket when you were connected. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, all of these questions were not valid.
Mm-mm.
It just was the experience. And we asked you at that time, Mon Sword Dragon's Bane Majir, what does it say about your true state of mind that you can experience that? And you've never been able to go ahead and give us a definitive answer. And we look to you and we'll do the Star Trek answer. No more questions. No more questions. It is the experience. No more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Eckhart Tolle. But what about? No. It is.
So then what's the point of these conversations?
But what happened? Because you have not reached that state yet. That is a good statement when you reach that state. Because like we've been foreshadowing with our son, we are no longer required. What would we teach? In order to even hear us, you'd have to distract yourself from that state.
Mm-hmm.
Once you are connected, what's our point? We don't. We witness the lotus blossom unraveling. And in that energy, that's where you can experience us. Not as spirit, but as your brother and sister. And finally, you'll be able to see us truly, because you'll be able to see yourself. And you and I become we. When the truth is, we said, the true statement of we, most people relate to the fact that, for example, the collective, that we say we because we mean all of us as we, as one consciousness, and that's not true. That's not true at all. It's seen from a statement of separation. The we you speak of mostly is all your little selves. Because finally they're speaking in one voice. All the 12 houses are speaking in one voice. All the signs are speaking in one voice. The we becomes I in purpose. But now, let's bring that down to a more practical level. Something that can be easily seen when you open up the cupboard next to the peanut butter jar, perhaps. That you could physically grab and taste. Your questions is coming from a place of intellect on trying to figure it out. And you can't. And you won't. And so we give the answer that we always gave. Observation.
Mm-hmm.
Observation, observation.
That's always what it's come down to. It's just in the last few years, that's all it is just watching. Which is why as I'm starting to ask questions, I'm like, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. I can't ask. I can't verbalize.
It is, though, because more and more you're becoming dissatisfied with life and the way that you're living it. And there's less and less that's pulling your attention of, here we go, oh my God, the drama, I'm loving it. More and more it's becoming empty. And we bring it back to the movie Matrix. Neo goes to open the door and leave the car because they want him to do something that he feels unsafe doing. And Trinity grabs him and says, You don't want to go down that road, Neo. And he says, why not? Because you've been down that road. You know exactly where it leads. And he looks at her, gets back in the car, and closes the door, and accepts the ride. He surrenders. What allowed him to surrender was a truth. What truth? A simple one. You know exactly what's down that road, and you desire it no more. This leaves the mind into an interesting perspective, open to the possibilities. Does it not?
It does.
Until that boiling point is reached, these are just words. You're waiting for the experience.
Am I losing my husband by going down this path? And like, does it matter? I don't want to. I feel like I am losing him by, I'm not dissatisfied with him at all. I'm not at all. I'm just not pulled to the stuff of the world. And there's a part of me that's like, is this escapism? Because eventually I find a form of escapism. But
usually when the Scorpio is being too intense with its focus, that escapism comes into play. That Scorpio nature is a beautiful thing, but does it always have to be so intense? Can't you just enjoy the walk in the park? Do you have to slay the dragons?
yeah.
Balance, balance, balance. To answer your question, because it was a direct question, so you will get a direct answer. And we will say possibly. It's a question of vibration between the two of you. And he has always told you, if you're not heading towards heaven and you're going back to hell, I can't go there with you. Has he not? If you decide to advance and he decides not to, your vibrations will fall out of sync. And so naturally, you'll seek different directions. Not just you, him as well. Nothing of physicality is permanent. Everything decays. That does not mean it has to or that is its destiny in this particular life. But we will say, it does not matter. Find your truth. Because you saw what happened to him when he stepped out of the light to stay with someone who refused to move forward. It practically drove him mad. He had to relearn how to be afraid and deal with it. Everything changed. All of the voices came rushing back in.
But there's a part, it's like, he makes valid points, because I sometimes wonder if I go into spiritual escapism, and he always brings it back with, well, this is what's happening, this is what's going on with people, we need this, we need that, let's look at how it can go badly, and it's very practical. And then there's just some aspects of like, why are we dealing with the same family issues of like the Leather family or other people? I mean, I do the same, but it's like, it's not my control. It doesn't bother me. What bothers me is my husband's energy getting pulled and drained with the parrot, with the Leather family, with other people's garbage. And
And that doesn't happen to you?
It happens to me. It does happen to me.
Okay. So the both of you are not ready to completely let go and stay plugged in. Okay.
Yeah.
And so,
I appreciate you saying that. It puts me
this
back into focus.
is Miss Virgo. Absolutes. How do you know she's in play? Absolutes, black and white. Follow the list. There are no half-truths here. And what does her whip do? Try to force you to complete it so she could check it off the list. What does a scorpion tail do? Try to inject poison so you go through the extreme of transformation. Constantly. They are great tools. But who is the master of them? Who is directing them? Who is orchestrating them into harmony?
This is the whole, I'm seeing it more and more. It's like, okay, you can jump between these aspects, but why not all of them in harmony? And it's not just a duality polarity. It's a multidimensional polarity, if that's the right word.
Correct. It's bringing the essence of the angle that you are into alignment with the truth of what you are. To be of service, not the master. To know its place. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm enjoying this conversation because I'm just like, I feel a sense of like, it's like it's like the good old days. It's like, it's really people watching this are like, why is he so, or probably wondering like, what's the big deal? Why is this frustrating you, Mansoor? But it is, and I'm ecstatic that it is because, okay, there's a muscle there to train. There's a movement there to go on. There's, okay, there's a lens to clean. There's a delusion Mansoor is still holding on to that this conversation is doing no more than pointing out, oh, what's that? And it's interesting watching me react and trying to fix it to impress you. And I'm watching myself do this. I'm like, really? This is so boring. This is so... And that's what I'm saying. I'm bored because it's watching the thoughts and emotions go down that same track, and then the intellect trying, well, last time I didn't do it this way. I did it this way, and I can rationalize because now it's a subtler thing and it's a higher vibration and da 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 da. And it's all this mental noise.
We're going to circle back with this, and then we will end the meeting. Apologies, but our sun energy runs low. And you have taken on, whether you realize it or not, more than enough energy to digest.
Really?
Yes. And
the Scorpio in me is like, I want more. Give it to me.
And while this will bring up more questions, the conversation will continue.
Thank you.
So, circling this back, and thank you for your honesty.
I don't want to lie anymore.
Well, it just goes ahead and defeats the purpose of enlightenment, of understanding oneself, of expanding one's mind. Because within the lie is the choice. and it strengthens the bar in your jail. And it's kind of hard to get us to believe that you're trying to get out of jail when you're strengthening the bars.
Mm-hmm.
But you had said the point about saying it a certain way to make it impressive to us. And yet in the beginning of the lesson, what a coincidence, we said that we are not here to be impressed.
Mm-hmm.
That is a conversation, and that if it does not come from you, it will not be done.
It's not coming from me. It's coming from a history and conditioning of this is what I'm supposed to do in front of others. Not that it's true. It's just.
And therein, that one perception, where was it plugged into? And
It was
that's your issue.
fear.
And that will continue to be your issue as long as you think that is your source. And our peace to you.
Thank you.
No. I'm gonna need you to push my back in after a cigarette. Oof. I need to rethink this chair choice. It looked good, but it doesn't sit good. Well, it may have worked then, but it ain't working for this old man now.